Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We start a new chapter of November 23 papers, and first I will try to finish all the O-level papers and then I will start the A-level papers. So best of luck. This is the new syllabus which started in June 23. So we will continue with the new syllabus which will last for about 5 to 6 years. Please, you all are seemed very confused and you keep on asking me when the syllabus changes. The syllabus changes and then lasts for quite a few years. As you all know, this paper is for 40 marks and this is a 1 hour paper. So you've got to manage the time very well and think that you cannot spend a lot of time on one question. So if you don't know that question, you read it and you go on to the next question, because you must finish the questions that you know well and then go back to the ones that you are not very familiar with or you find need to think about them. But you don't need to really ponder on them for very long. You need to go on to the next question. Now, question 1, what are the characteristics of bacteria? Now, if everybody remembers, there's a cell wall, then there is a cell membrane, and inside this there is cytoplasm, and then there's circular DNA, and then there are these ribosomes, which are where it can make its own proteins. So it does not have a nuclear membrane, it does not have any of the organelles, it does not have mitochondria, but please remember, they do not have any mitochondria, but they do respire. They respire and they are living organisms. This is something which you forget, I don't know why. What are characteristics of bacteria? Well, everybody knows what are the characteristics of bacteria. Do they have a cytoplasm? Do they have DNA? Do they have a nuclear membrane? So they do not have a nuclear membrane. So that is why the answer is B. Why? Because it contains cytoplasm, has circular DNA, in fact has two types of DNA, the circular DNA and also the plasmids. But all bacteria do not have plasmids. Some bacteria have plasmids. So please, I'm giving you more information in case you get a question on this pattern. Question number 2. Some students were provided with some specimens of arthropods. They counted the number of legs on each arthropod. Their results are shown in the table. Number of legs is 6, 8, 10, 20 or more. Number of arthropods with that number of legs. So this is 10 with 6 legs, 4 with 8 legs, 4 with 10 legs, and 2 with 20 or more legs. Now it says which statement about the arthropods is correct. The same number of insects and crustaceans were counted. 25% of the arthropods counted were arachnids. So if it is talking of percentage, then let's look at this. Number of arthropods with that number of legs. So 6 at 10, 14, 4, 18 and 20. So the total were 20. This is equal to, if you add all of these, is 20, 10, 4, 14, 18, 20, and then 10 out of 20 were the 6-leg ones. So you've got to understand 25% would mean what? 5, but there are none with 5. So this was out. Now, can I just revise this with you all so that you know how we're going to do this question? Now, of course, the answer was C. 50% of the counted were insects. You see, 6 legs are insects. Now, I'm just going to revise this with you because I know you all are not very clear on this. Now, this is a very good table for you all to look at. Keep it in front of you, take a picture of it, keep it as a screensaver for a few days, and then remember it. Insect 6 legs, arachnids 8 legs. How I remember it, R for me, R looks like 8. So there's an R here. There has to be some way that you remember. It's crustaceans, T for 10. Myriapods, lots of legs. Well, I can't really, myria means myriapods, lots of legs. So try to remember it, lots, myriapods. Make some mnemonic and remember it, lots of legs. And remember this is that funny looking myriapod which has lots and lots of legs. So you have to remember this. Please keep this in front of you, take a screenshot of it and keep it in your mind, because you see all of them have exoskeletons, but number of body parts and number of antennae varies. This is 2 antennae, 8 eyes, don't have antennae or wings, 2 antennae, 2 antennae. So these are something which you will have to remember, and this is, I'm sorry, it has to be memorized. Question number 3, the diagram shows 2 plant cells X and Y. Cell X has a higher water potential. Higher water potential means more free water molecules. I tell you this in my videos as well. So more free water molecules. So X has a higher water potential. So water is going to move like this. Why? Because here we have more free water molecules and here we have less free water molecules. So more in which direction and by which process will water move? Now I'm surprised if any students comes up with active transport because water can only move by osmosis. So it has to be X to Y and osmosis. But remember this when I say higher water potential, here we said higher water potential. When it says higher water potential, it means it more free water molecules. Say there's a 1% solution and there is a 5% solution and then there is a partially permeable membrane in between. Now water will move from 1% to 5%. Why will it move? Because here there are more free water molecules. More free water molecules. Less solute. 1 gram solute, 5 gram solute. So here there will be more free water molecules. So it always moves from, in a way you can say, from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution. It's for the Changad students who can't sort of seem to understand it. So I'll say, okay, dilute to concentrated. Question number 4. Which row identifies how ions and molecules move by active transport? So active transport is always against the concentration gradient. It can't be down the concentration gradient. Through a membrane, yes, because active transport requires living cells and living cells have to have a membrane. So yes, it requires a membrane and it requires energy. You can also say it requires ATP, or active transport requires ATP, which is an energy currency. But some of you might not know it, so let's keep it to energy. So question number 4, the answer is A. Why? Because it can be against the concentration gradient. If it was diffusion, then it was written down the concentration gradient. But here it's active transport, so that's why this is correct. Then it has to be a membrane. Why? Because it has to be in living cells and they require energy. Question number 5. A student carried out 2 tests on a liquid. When Benedict solution was added to half of the liquid and heated, it turned red. When biuret reagent was added to the rest of the liquid, it turned mauve. Now everybody knows that, Benedict's test is for reducing sugar and glucose is a reducing sugar. Sucrose is not a reducing sugar. So sucrose would be positive, and the fact that the biuret reagent is for protein and it turned purple, P for purple, P for protein, P for present. So purple, protein, present. So glucose and protein. So the liquid contains, so that's why the answer is D. The liquid contains solutions of glucose and protein. Enzymes are involved in reactions in living cells. Which statement describes the action of enzymes? Now you have to read very carefully. Now, of course, the answer I'll give you very quickly is C, but why is A wrong? Enzymes are able to start up reactions that otherwise not occur. No enzymes, without enzymes, the reactions would take place, but it would take very long. We say enzymes speed up reactions. So that is why A is wrong. I'm going to tell you why A is wrong. Enzymes can only act inside living cells or organisms. No, we do enzyme experiments in the lab. They still work because enzymes can work on the substrate available. Like we take the enzyme amylase and we do an experiment in the lab with amylase and with starch. Then one enzyme can realize a number of reactions. No, it can't. Why? Because every enzyme has an active site and that active site is specific to the substrate. So only a certain shape of the substrate will fit into it. So it can't catalyze a number of different reactions. So that is why this is wrong. And so then, of course, C is correct. Enzymes increase the rate of chemical reactions. Now, coming to question number 7, the diagram shows the movement of substance involved in photosynthesis in a leaf. Which row shows the correct labels for the diagram? Now, if you know these, the correct labels from the diagram is, what is 5? 5 has to be carbon dioxide is entering the leaf on a hot sunny day. So then only these two are left. So then you have to read these again. And then we know C is the answer. But why is C the answer? This is what you need to understand. That 4, what is 4? 4 is something coming out of the xylem. So 4 has to be water. Then 2 is also water because 2 is here. 2 is coming out of the xylem into the leaf. Then 3, what is 3? 3 is coming from here and going into the phloem. Why? Because you can see here the sieve plates. You can see that the dotted thing from the top, you can see it. I'm just going to rub it off and see it. You can see it for yourself. So you can see the C plates here. These are the C plates here, and this is the C plate here. This one and this one. I'll rub it and you can see it again. So 3 has to be glucose. Why? Because glucose entering from the palisade mesophyll is entering into the, so glucose, of course, it's converted to sucrose and then enters the phloem. And then what is 1? 1 is coming out. So 1 has to be oxygen. Question number 8. The diagram shows a plant cell compared with the rest of the cell. Which row describes the concentrations of oxygen and magnesium inside structure P? Now, what is structure P? It's the chloroplast. It's a chloroplast. So, what would during the daytime? Now, they've also said daytime. So, you've got to understand the daytime. What is it going to be? Oxygen is going to be high, and magnesium is going to be high because chloroplasts contain a pigment called chlorophyll, and chlorophyll needs magnesium for it. It needs magnesium ions to form chlorophyll. So that is why the answer is A. Question number 9. The diagram shows a root hair cell. How does the shape of the cell help the plant? Now, what is this? I mean, this is rubbish. It allows root to search for ions. The roots can't sort of move around and search for ions, so this is wrong. It allows roots to search for it. Again, the word search is wrong. I'm searching for my glasses. I can't find my glasses. That means I'm actively looking around, walking around and looking for my glasses. So search is a wrong word. Increases surface area for sugar uptake. No, there's no sugar in the soil. So that is why the answer is D. It increases the surface area for water uptake. Now coming to 10, a student used the apparatus shown to measure the rate of water lost by the leafy stem at increasing wind speeds. Leafy stem, water, air bubble, and then you can see a scale, and they say which graph was produced from their results. You see, what you have to understand is in the question it says increasing wind speeds. So that means there must be a fan, and first it must be at maybe speed 1 and then speed 2 and speed 3. So the rate of respiration should increase, but then why would it level off? It would level off because the number of stomata is the limiting factor. So that is why the answer is C, because it has increased. The wind speed is increasing this way. Here it's constant, here it is increased and decreased. Here it's sort of wind speed has increased, but here it has increased. So the answer is C because it must level off because the number of stomata is the limiting factor. Just like if you have a room and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doors in it. So if there are only 2 people coming, well, only 2 doors are being used. But if a lot of people are standing outside, so in a unit time, 6 people can come at a time. So similarly, the stomata in the leaf is the limiting factor. So you can increase the wind speed, but the number of it will, of course, will ultimately become constant. Question number 11. A deficiency disease in children causes soft and deformed bones. What is the name and cause of this deficiency disease? You know, bones, it has to be rickets. So it's either A or B. Now we know it's A. Why is it A? Why is the other B wrong? Lack of vitamin D and calcium. Here it says vitamin C and calcium. Now this was the wrong thing. It's vitamin D and calcium which causes rickets. Question number 12. The diagram shows the human digestive system. 1 mouth, 2 stomach, 3 anus. Where do egestion and ingestion occur? Ingestion would be 1 only. Why? Because ingestion is taking in. So that's in the mouth. And egestion would be 3. So that's why the answer is C. Question number 13. Which graph best represents the effect of pH on the action of gastric protease? You see, it works at a very low pH. The pH of the stomach is nearly 3. It's highly acidic. So what we have to understand, it can only be A because that's in a very low pH. This is the one which is between, you see, if you see it here, it must be 3. So all these others are wrong because the pH is very high. The stomach pH, gastric protease, works at a very, very low pH. Question number 14. The graph shows the changes in the lung volume during breathing when a person was at rest and then they begin to exercise. So this is at the rest. You can see the volume in the lungs from 2 is going up to 2.5. right? And then it's going down to 2.5. This is the person is at rest. And then here from 2, it is going up to 5, and then it's going down to 2. Because there's a certain volume in the lung of the air, certain volume of air in the lungs which cannot be expelled even if you exhale very forcefully. And that is this part. So from resting to exercise, the volume of air breathed in at each breath increased from X to Y. Now X was what? Zero point 0.5. So it went up from zero point 0.5, and then from 2 it went up to 5. So this is 5 minus 2, so this would be 3. So that is the answer is A. From 0.5, please see this is 2. I'm going to just rub this off so that I can show it to you again. So from 2 it has gone up to 2.5. 2 it has gone up to 2.5, and then from 2 it has gone up to 5. So 5 minus 2 is 3. So this is 3. From here to here is 3, and from here to here is 0 0.5. So that is why the answer is A. From X is 0 0.5 and Y is 3. I'm sure many of you would have got this wrong because you are not reading the question carefully. Not that you don't know the question, but you don't read it carefully. This is the problem with Generation Z. They just don't read the question carefully. Question 15. What are the products of anaerobic respiration in muscle? It can't be alcohol, not be carbon dioxide, cannot be glucose. It's only lactic acid. So that's why the answer is D. There's only lactic acid produced in anaerobic respiration in muscle. It's only when anaerobic respiration in yeast, then it's alcohol and carbon dioxide. So you must know that as well. Now coming to question number 16. Which lever shows where lactic acid is broken down? During anaerobic respiration in muscles, lactic acid is produced in the muscle. So let's say in your leg muscle. From the cell of the muscle, it's going to enter the blood, and then it's going to be carried through the vena cava and heart, and then it's going to be taken to the aorta and then to the liver, hepatic artery. In the liver, that lactic acid is broken down back to glucose, and then the glucose is respired, and that's why you need more of the oxygen. So question number 6, where is broken down? It has to be D, because it's in the liver. A is the stomach, B is the pancreas, C is the first part of the small intestine, which is the duodenum. Now that's just to confuse you all. Now coming to question number 17. Two people carried out a short period of exercise on treadmill. Each of the two people ran on treadmill for the same amount of time and the same speed. The graph shows the pulse rates of these two people before, during, after the period of exercise. This is the period of exercise, right? Now it says pulse rate per minute and person X and person Y. Now the question is not if person X is fitter or anything, because all of them are the same. Person X is fitter, Y is fitter, but then heart rate increases more during exercise. Then heart rate recovers more quickly after exercise. Of X. No, it doesn't recover more quickly after exercise. Heart rate is fitter, heart rate increases more during exercise. Well, initially it was more as well. And why is fitter? The heart rate recovers more quickly after exercise. So let's look at this. This is exercise, this is exercise. And then what time does this return? This returns at this point, and this chappy returns at this point. So that is why the answer is D, because its heart rate recovers more quickly after exercise. So the fact that the heart rate, you were supposed to look at the heart rate, you were not supposed to look at the fitter part or the non-fitter part. You were supposed to only look at what was information was given to you, because actually fitness is not in your syllabus. But what were they giving from the graph? You have to see, does it really recover? The person X, it recovered very much after quite some time. Here at this point. Here it recovered at this point. So this is what you had to see. Fitness is not in your syllabus. Question number 18. Which blood vessel carries deoxygenated blood? Well, it has to be pulmonary artery and hepatic vein. You see, aorta carries oxygenated blood. Renal pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood. Why? Because it's returning the oxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs, from the lungs to the heart. And vena cava, pulmonary vein is oxygenated blood. So that should have immediately been that you should have read it. This was wrong. Pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood. It says which blood vessels carry deoxygenated blood. So it either had to be a vein and the pulmonary artery. So this was actually checking whether you knew your syllabus and you knew the structure of the heart and how the blood vessels return blood to the heart, the deoxygenated blood, and then the aorta comes out and carries oxygenated blood. Now coming to question number 19, which describes the microorganism that causes cholera and method of transmission. Cholera is a bacteria and it's not in blood, it's actually in water. So that is why the answer to question number 19 is B. Virus, no, please everybody must know cholera is caused by a bacteria. B, C, cholera. A, B, C. So bacteria and contaminated water, not with blood, and it's not a virus, so these were also wrong. Then coming to question number 20. Now that's a very nice question. Now coming to question number 20. The chart gives information about a car being driven at 110 kilometers per hour by someone who has not consumed alcohol. It shows how far the car travels from the time the driver sees a hazard and reacts by using the brakes and how far the car will travel before finally stopping. Okay, zero hazard seen at 20 meters, brakes used, and the car stops at 96 meters. Now let's look at the question. The question is a little confusing. If the same driver consumes alcohol before driving, the distance traveled before reacting to the hazard increases by 20%. So what is 20% of 20? Which means simple maths, 20 over 100 into 20. So this is equal to 4. So instead of stopping at 20, now it will stop at 24. Sorry, I mean the brakes will be used at 24. Hazard seen at 0, brakes will be used at 24. So it will stop here at 96 plus 4, which is 100 meter. Please read the question, do this paper before you actually do this, so that I want to see where your thinking goes wrong and then you look at my videos. So if the same driver consumes the distance traveled before reacting, brakes used was at 20. It increases by 20%. So 20% of 20 is 4. So the brake will be used at 24 meters instead of 20. And instead of stopping at 96, it will stop at 100 meters. So that is why the answer is B. What would then be the total distance traveled by the car before stopping? I know it takes a breed of its own kind to do this sort of question. So best of luck. I finished this video here and we'll continue the rest of the 20 questions in the second video on this paper. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. You're all great kids. Best of luck.